The Kocevski Rog massacre at Macesnova Gorica was one of the largest post-World War II mass killings in Slovenia. In June 1945, after the end of the war, Yugoslav communist authorities carried out the extrajudicial execution of approximately 3,450 Slovenians, most of them former members of the Slovene Home Guard, or Domobranci, who had been forcibly repatriated back to Yugoslavia by the British when they fled to Austria. The prisoners or captives were deceived into believing that they were being sent by train to Italy from Austria and freedom. Instead, Yugoslavian members of OSNA, who are trained assassins, transported them back to Yugoslavia. They went to several concentration camps, including Škofja Loka and Šentvid, and then eventually to the remote forests of Kocevski Rog. Before then and there, they were systematically tortured, and then they were murdered without trials. Most of these former Home Guards had assisted the Allies throughout the war by spying on the Germans and reporting German military activities to the Allies. They were pro-Ally and anti-German. At Macesnova Gorica, victims were executed. Many were shot, others killed by explosives, and their bodies were dumped into natural karst pits, which are very deep, and mass graves. Communists then sealed these graves to conceal the crime. Even today, however, evidence of these crimes remains seen around the mass graves. Shards, mirror shards, can be found, personal belongings of the former Home Guards, and traces of lime are around the site. Also, occasionally, human bones are found. For decades, under communist rule, the massacre was officially denied and strictly silenced. Only after Slovenia's independence in 1991 were investigations allowed. Archaeological research later confirmed the scale of the killings and the identity of the victims, establishing Macesnova Gorica as one of the most significant mass graves in Europe and a symbol of post-war communist terror and the suppression of historical truth. Although the victims' bodies have been exhumed, they have not been identified or buried. The Slovenian government, most notably the current mayor of the capital city of Ljubljana, refuses to allow the victims to be buried. Instead, the bones are piled up in an ossuary. Slovenia's post-World War II massacres committed by the communists constitute the largest crime against humanity carried out in Europe after World War II. Slovenian politicians to this day continue to deny that the massacre was a crime against humanity.
Good. So welcome at the site of cave under Macesnova Gorica, or in Slovenian Jama pod Macesnovo Gorico. This site is quite similar to the previous one, to the cave under Kren, with the exception that here a lot of Slovenian victims are also buried. We know that because of the thousands of objects that we discovered during our research. The first research here was also conducted by Dr. Ferenc and his history students. They did a research of the sinkhole. It's right behind there. We will visit the site. It was a sinkhole used for discarding and destroying the objects that belong to the victims. It's a place where their clothing and personal items were actually set on fire, because we found a lot of molten objects, a lot of molten aluminum, and so on. So they tried to burn the objects, and some of the objects were also thrown into the cave, which is also a mass grave. In 2017, we also did a metal detector survey of the area around this site. We also found, similar as in Kren, a lot of remnants of ammunition, so cartridges, cartridge cases, bullets and so on, a lot of personal objects, parts of wires which they used for tying up the victims. And in 2022, the exhumation of the mass grave was also conducted. We will later walk to the edge The original cave, the entrance was much smaller, but after the killings to conceal the location, it was blasted, so the whole large part of the cave actually collapsed. And also this part here in front of us, it was removed because of the excavation. So this platform had to be built for the excavator to take out all of the material. Around 3,000 cubic meters of material was removed from the cave. So the original cave, the entrance was much higher, and that's why, because of the excavations, this part needed to be removed, but I will show you some pictures later in the evening. Here we discovered the human remains of around 3,450 people. It's the precise number could not be determined because of the blasting. A lot of the remains were completely destroyed, and even the anthropologists could not determine the precise number of the victims here. The killings took place here in the beginning of June. We also have some testimonies of the ones that survived the execution, so they managed to escape from the cave and later were able to tell their experience with the execution and everything. And now I would like to invite you to the edge to see inside of the cave. The cave is actually much larger. It has also underground tunnels, and I will show you some pictures later in the evening. So now first we can go and check the cave itself.
Those two individuals you mentioned.
Here.
He'll start again.
So, bones, are they here? No. They've been removed. And where are those?
Currently in Skopje and also waiting for the new burial.
We're going to get some shots down.
Not very good.
Yes. When they found the bones, did they go in a lot deeper, or was this the only clearing area necessary for all the bones?
The majority of the bones were here because the original entrance was somewhere in the middle. It was supposedly 9 by 4 meters. But there were a lot of human remains inside of the tunnels because at least 42 individuals survived, and they were seeking refuge and tried to find exit, but later they couldn't escape and they didn't make it, and they died in this tunnel. So next to the right there was one larger group of survivors, and inside, and 3 of them were found just behind this ledge. They were probably sheltering themselves before
Shot.
for not being shot, and they later also died. They were not able to climb out.
So how would, because he told us yesterday they were, where we were in Nova Gorica, that they were shot and then they were thrown into the
Yes.
cave. Is that what happened here? They were shot and then thrown in?
Yes, they were shot and thrown in.
And
But
so
yes.
shot like somewhere up there? or-
Yes. The original entrance doesn't exist, so it was
Okay.
somewhere in the middle
Yeah.
part here. And all this was then blasted away, so it collapsed. It was done, the last time it was done, they believe, in the late 1950s.
So when Mr. Dayak, was he shot first or was he just thrown in? Was that why he was able to get out?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know which one, but one of them, he actually jumped inside,
So that he could
and some of
maybe-
them were shot badly and thrown inside, and then they managed to survive. And during the massacres, because they knew that there were alive people there, they were screaming and so on. They were throwing hand grenades inside and to kill them and to stop the yelling and so on.
Are there any plans to do DNA testing?
There are no plans for now, but from its skeleton, right femur was separated for a future possible DNA analysis. So analysis is not being made yet, just the right femurs are being stored.
Okay.
If in future, 10 years, 50 years, I don't know.
If they get approval?
Yes, yes. And I think it's not, the problem is not the approval, the problem is who will finance this. The costs are,
Do you know how much it would cost to maybe even consider
I
beginning
think,
a movement to do a fundraising?
I don't know, I think current prices are around 500, 600 euros per sample, I think.
However, to compare, I asked George Desmond because I believe my great uncle was found in the Turneville Plateau, and he's currently in the laboratory at Maribor. And I asked if he could get a DNA test, and he said, "Well, you got 10,000, 20,000. That's what it's going to cost." Now I don't know if he's throwing out a number, but that's because we got to test everybody in the cave.
Right.
That's the thing, and,
Yeah,
he's,
that's the thing.
and he knows that, and so he says that's what it's going to
Right.
cost.
So they did DNA on your uncle?
No, I am going to make a request through the Ministry of Interior.
The problem
They
is
know which body?
No,
there's a
they have to
relative
test all
and
five,
wants-
but it's only five.
I want to
I'll
test
do all
if
five.
There's
Yeah.
my relative in the
Right.
site.
Right.
If there are only 3 bodies, that's not a problem. You know.
Right.
You need 4
And
samples.
then
so
there's
the relative
and there's a strong
here-
indication with cigarette lighters you need.
Yeah, you need
That
to
is the
sample
problem.
all of them. That's the
Right, that's
problem.
what they want you
And
to
the quality is still high enough?
Yes.
Yeah,
more
but you get
time
a,
that
like
goes by,
a
the less-
cousin, or that's what
Yes.
I'm gonna get, my
It
aunt to test.
depends what's
First
the
cousin.
so yeah, this place was already settled in the prehistoric times. Then we just walked a little bit around of the objects that we found. So a lot of bottoms, parts of items. A lot of them were of course damaged because they wanted to destroy them. And here are some just photos from the excavation itself, but more about this topic I will show you in the evening. So we are standing just right here. So this is the sinkhole number 4, it's the cave. And we drove on this road, and somewhere here the truck stopped and they were taken based on the objects that we found and where did we found them. We believe that this was the path that the prisoners were taking.
So the largest one was which?
No, this is the cave, but this is the area where this area in between here.
Okay.
Here the prisoners were untied, undressed, and tied back together, and then later shot.
So is there an estimate of the total number of killed people between all sites?
No, here from this side it's around 3,450
Okay.
plus minus, but not more than 3,500.
Okay, but added to the rest, is there just an estimated total number? Added to all the places?
In all Slovenia,
No, I'm just here in
Kocevski Rog.
Kocevski Rog, yeah.
The numbers, this is really
Hard to say. I know.
hard to say, yeah, but several thousands.
So really, a small part of the total 12,000 that
Yeah.
were sent back from
Yes,
Austria.
still, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, he's finding artifacts.
Oh my gosh.
You get that.
They're pieces of mirrors. So every soldier had a mirror to shave. And these are small pieces of mirrors, and this, for instance, this was damaged by fire. You can see it changed color and it's a little bit molten. So you can still find these remnants of the people that were killed here. I'll just put it back. So right behind me, it's another of many sinkholes that we encounter in this area, but this one is special because this was the place where the Yugoslavian army wanted to hide the evidence of the mass killing. So in this sinkhole, more than 55 kilograms of objects were discovered, a lot of them damaged by fire, which points towards this, that the victim's property, so the uniforms, personal objects, were taken in this sinkhole and set on fire. And a lot of the objects were similar as in Kren, were also thrown into the cave. So Dr. Ferenc in 2004, here with the students discovered a large number of the objects, and in 2017 we actually excavated the whole bottom area of the sinkhole, we sieved through all of the soil and we found a lot of objects, mostly small parts of objects, and we probably also missed some of the objects because you never can find everything.
To which country do they attribute the people here? Or the items?
Mostly a lot of Slovenians, yeah, but the origin of object is not origin of the victims. For example, German uniforms were worn by German army, by partisans, by Slovenian Home Guard, by Chetniks. So sometimes it's really hard to tell. But when we find Slovenian objects like pilgrimage badge from Brezje, Home Guard cap badges, those are the objects that were worn by the Slovenians, and that's why we know that Slovenian victims were killed here. Here's also quite an interesting thing. Here you can see a belt buckle. It's grown into the tree, so somebody probably found this buckle, put it on a wick, and with the years it became part of the tree, so you can check it here, these belt buckles. And on a lot of these trees you can see carved crosses. People visiting this place, they carved crosses in the trees to, I don't know, because before there were no cross, and even according to data, even in the late 1980s, for every 1st of November, when people are going to the cemeteries to light candles, there were police patrolling these areas to prevent people from coming here. Yeah, even in the late 80s. So yeah, this was the sinkhole, and in this middle part, between the sinkhole and the cave, here the prisoners were taken and they were undressed, tied back together, and then taken to the cave and shot. And during our metal detector survey, we also managed to determine the way from which the prisoners were taken. So the trucks stopped there by the road and they were taken to here from that location. So this is a new route that we came with the bus, and the original path was just in this direction. So we can now go a little bit further up to see the place. So we are now actually close to the original execution site, which we don't see because the mine was blasted, but it was somewhere probably in this area where the shooting of the victims actually took place. And also in this vicinity we found a lot of cartridge cases, also whole ammunition, bullets and so on. But this ammunition was actually, the majority was here, but it was also lying all over the place. They were losing ammunition because it must be quite a chaotic scene, and also parts of explosives, hand grenades and so on. So we discovered quite a lot of remnants from the killing process, let's say. And here on the picture you can just see a couple of cartridge cases that we found, and several objects related to the blasting. So we found actually a drill for drilling the holes to put the explosive. We've seen to blast the whole cave. Here's some detonation cord and some wooden reels for the detonation cord and so on. Maria, do you think we should go further, or?
You can